Say a word or something? Come on, come on, come on. Give me a breather.
Dental lecture.
No, 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 no. So long nefesh. Say something.
Okay, I'll say something. It's not related to, it's not directly related to Sukkot, but I guess it's directly related to every day. It's actually from um, um, Sugyas B'Chasidus by Reb Yoel, which I started learning on the recommendation of Eli Rachlin, and talks a lot about haBitochen, and I just want to talk about just one small point of haBitochen, maybe like an application of it. And of course, everyone knows the words we have to kamocha. You should love someone like yourself. And usually, when people understand this, they understand this as you should love someone as much as you love yourself. So you love yourself this much. You typically love other people less, so you should try loving them up to the same amount, which is very, very hard, of course, but that's the idea. You should try loving someone at the same quantity as you love yourself. And Yoel kind of explains actually that kamocha doesn't actually mean love someone as much as yourself. It means in the same way that you love yourself. It's not at all a quantitative thing, it's a qualitative thing. And what's the central difference about how you love yourself compared to how you relate to yourself compared to how you relate to another person? It's not how much you love yourself. It's that someone loves someone else. Let's say someone admires somebody, and they say, "Wow, that person's amazing. I love that guy." Whether he's amazing at sports, he's amazing if that's what he decides to love. Yeah, he's amazing because of something that has incredible value. He's such a nice guy. He's so nice. He smiles at everybody, or he loves a gadol or a gadol b'Torah. He says, "Wow," and he gives. He knows how to give the greatest share. Even though those are all loving someone for a worthy thing, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that love is dependent, or that admiration is dependent on something else the person does. It's what does that person do for me? Now, even if it's a completely good thing, a person inspires me, but even so, the person who inspires you, it's still you're love them essentially because of it's totally b'davar. It depends on something. And most of the time, when we think of love we have for another person, it's what do they do for me? Even if it's not selfish, he inspires me to be nice to people because he does nice things selflessly to people, and I admire him that way, for example. But when a person loves themselves, the love for themselves is qualitatively completely different because it's innate. It doesn't depend on anything unless someone has, unfortunately, an underlying pathology. Everyone really loves themselves. Even people say, "Oh, I hate myself. I hate myself for doing this." They really? I mean, they might be a little depressed, and then what do they always see, like in movies or TV shows, or someone who's being talked off the ledge, and what do they tell them about? They tell them about how they appeal to the fact that the person really does love himself. You've got that you want to keep living and you want to keep doing these things. So that part wasn't Yoel kind of saying that, but the point is clarification. Yeah, that qualitatively a person starts with love for himself. So this is, by the way, also the reason why if someone does, and so just so the point is that type of love, which is qualitatively, you say, I myself, I have no choice but to love myself. I'm not going to hate myself. I'm going to, and that's something that is automatic. As for whether I have anything to admire or not admire, turns out that sometimes that, of course, leads to admiration, because you like yourself, you like what you do. But the truth is that it's inherent. And one area where I think this can also be applied is when a person does something wrong, and people tend to give themselves the benefit of the doubt, or if they even if they say, okay, I did something wrong, but they tend to move on with it. They'll say, okay, I did something wrong. It wasn't the greatest thing, but that's not who I am. I made a mistake. I'm gonna And by the way, that's kind of the same thing that we say before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, right? We say that the world can't be Miskayim B'din, right? And Hashem sees the world can't be Miskayim B'din. So what does it really mean? It means, and we know that we need Chesed, because we're basically saying in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu, we know we did all these things that are wrong, but don't let that define us. I mean, so we did something wrong. I mean, not that that's a catch-all excuse. It doesn't excuse the behavior. But the point is, we still say that's not who we are. So because that's the way we look at ourselves. The reason we use that excuse in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu, right, is also because that's the way we look at ourselves. We say, I'm a good person, so I made mistakes. So the truth is that looking at someone else qualitatively the same way we look ourselves, also means. So it's not that we forgive ourselves or we give ourselves benefit of the doubt because we love ourselves X amount or Y amount. It's because it's innate that we love ourselves. And that of course leads to the idea that we therefore try giving ourselves benefit of the doubt. So the same is true with regards to other people. That one way to come to I think to a higher madrega in terms of being able to give people the benefit of the doubt, or even those times that we say, okay, the person did something wrong, but even so, I'm going to still relate to that person as a very, very good person who happened to do something wrong, and not say that defines and makes him into a bad person, is by really trying to actualize this idea of kamocha, being try to treat them with the same kind of attitude that we treat ourselves. And I think it's a thing every day.
Yeah. Chaim. Before I forget, before you remember a name, Moshe Goldstein? Yes or no?
You know the whole story?
What he told me. So, you say the story.
I'm not going to say the story.
Okay, I don't know the whole story, but
If you see him, give him regards.
I see him now, Yom Tov. He just lost his mother, 99 years old.
Yeah, it's a happy story and a very sad story, but I'm not going to build it.
I know the happy part.
Good. That's it.
Anyway, but he asked me to send you regards. So,
Yeah, he was. He started out. His parents put him in. It was one year when the Baptist opened up on Ocean Parkway. The very first year, they sent a group called Booker to be the senior Booker group. So he's learning with each other. They didn't listen to that. So I was in that group.
yeah.
And the father, Shidduchim, and pardon Parnassus, isn't that he had a couple of sons, and he put him into the yeshiva. And long story short, I was learning with my son. This is what he became very interested. He became a Lubavitcher, and he became a shliach in Tiberia. And
But there's another part.
There's a lot of parts that are
the
leaving out.
Flatbush part.
The Flatbush Yeshiva.
Yeah, he said he had recess. He was learning in
I
Flatbush
used to give a
Yeshiva.
Tanya Shir in Flatbush
And he
Yeshiva.
says him and his friend, during recess, they opened the door and they saw someone. They walked in and they didn't know who it was. Him. It was
I used to give a clandestine Tanya Shir in
a Tanya Shaar. He gave a shear, and Moshe and his friend listened, and it just week after week he came back, and he said because of that he ended up going to the yeshiva. That's what he told me.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a good story.
No,
That is good.
yeah,
It's
no,
all good.
That's all good. Exactly. Chaim. Okay, it's time for a good niggin that I can teach you a niggin. You ready? Lubilia Maya Sluzhba Krepko. Oi, Lubilia Maya Sluzhba Krepko. You're from Poland or he's from Poland? You're from Poland. You're from Poland. This is Ukrainian, not Polish. Hey, I did it, I lit it, I lit it, I lit it, oh, so you should know this. Hey, I lit it, I lit it, I lit it, I like in the words, Lubia, Maya, Sluzba, Krepko. Hey. My father comes to America in 1958. My father's from Romania, survived, came to Eretz Yisrael. He learned by Reb Shlomo Chaim, the famous Mashpia, in Eretz Yisrael and Lud. And in 1958, he makes his way through France. He was 6 months by Reb Nissen Nemanov, another famous Lubavitcher Chassid and Mashpia. And he wants to go to the Rebbe, he wants to get married, and he wants to make a living. Comes on a boat, and there was I just heard yesterday from a friend of his that there was a famous pickpocket, unfortunately, Never Chayit, and whatever lirot my father had and some others was gone. He met actually a Satmar Chassid on the boat named Getzelberger. Reb Getzelberger. Look at if you go in Meir Sharim, you look at the moises of the I forget the name.
Meir Banes?
No, not Meir Banes. No, the Satmars. Anyway.
Yet it left.
No, anyway, so you'll see his name. He was a very wealthy man, a businessman from London, and he was Satmar Chassid. So he was on the boat. And my father says to him, he didn't know what he says to him. He took away my money. I don't have any kosher. Buy a soda. Says, can you give me a few dollars? Can you give me help? He says, I don't want to give you because you davened a minyan and you included not religious people. If you can include Rishoyim in the minyan, call them Rishoyim, wicked people, to make up a minyan, you don't deserve my money. My father said, what are you at? We don't have a minyan on the ship. We barely made a minyan. And he says, you know what? I observed the way you davened. And you davened like a real Yerushalayim. He says, I could see you're a yeshiva bacher. I could see that you went to yeshiva. You davened Shmon Esrei like a real God-fearing. So I'm going to give you. But I have a condition. The condition is when you come to America, you have to go see the Satmar Rebbe. He was a Satmar Chassid. Father's a Lubavitcher Chassid. My father needs to eat. He needs a few bucks. She was penniless. So he says, okay. Make a long story short, my father worked, he came to New York, he worked for Pesach, he worked in a Satmar Matzah baker in Williamsburg. Who came in the middle? The Satmar Rebbe. So you end up seeing the Satmar Rebbe. That's not what I wanted to tell you. What I want to tell you is, it comes to yeshiva, and Thursday night, it was Mishmar night, it's Lubavitch. We also learned too heavy in the morning. I learned here in Marastan for 2.5 years. Till 1, 2 in the morning, I was steiging away in the Gemara in Shulchan Aruch. And then we went to Fabrein. But I would go to sleep sometimes 5, 6 in the morning, lay down, and 7:38, 8 o'clock, we were ready to be up for Chassidus. So he comes in Thursday night, and the Chevra of Fabrein, his friends from Eretz Yisrael that came earlier, and they're singing this niggin that I just sang for you. Luba is Luba Klubavitch, love. Lubilya, Maya. My love, Lubilya is Luzba, work. Krepko, very much. I really love my job. I recall being at the Sephardic Temple on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles, and Dennis Prager was speaking. There were 1,000 young people in the room. I'm not kidding. It was full of young people. Boys, girls, girls. And Dennis Prager asks, who here keeps Shabbos? Not many people raise their hand. He says, who here would like to keep Shabbos? And then he asks a question, who here can say they enjoy the job that they have and they get paid for it? Not many hands went up. To be able to say you love being a dentist and you make a parnasa from that, it's a gewaltige Gesach. It's a great thing. Lubilya Maya Sluzhba Krepko. I really love my job. What job are we talking about? Exactly. The question is, when things don't go our way, when the curveball is thrown, it's not the fastball and it's not the fork ball, but it's a curveball. And all of a sudden, you're save me! Where am I? Could you still say I love my job? Can you still say I love the Eibishter? So listen to this dialogue in the niggin itself. Eli, listen. Lubilya maya služba krepko. I love my job. I really love it. Lubilya, do I really love my job? Hey, I did it, sometimes I do. I did it, sometimes I don't. It's normal. It's normal to have sfekas. It's normal to have questions. It's normal to doubt. It's normal. You learn a piece of Tanya, you understand what's out to Rebbe telling you Tanya. It's normal to have a Yetzer Hara Nefesh Abamis. It's not normal not to have one. Pedikov Zion, Tanya. That's what Alter Rebbe says in chapter 27. Someone who says, how can it be that these thoughts fall into my mind, these foreign thoughts, these disgusting thoughts? Says the Alter Rebbe, you're a Balgaiva. Who are you? Who are you? You're a regular little man. What? Kachmat Tzarte brings the quote in Pirkei Avos. That's why you were created. To battle, to struggle, to sometimes win and sometimes lose. So in the niggin, there's a dialogue. I love my job. Or then you say, do I really love my job? We don't mean, this work, that work. Do I really love being a parent? Do I really want to raise a Jewish family? Do I really want to be in a yeshiva? Do I want to really be a Yeved Hashem? All of that. And the answer is, I did it, I did it, I did it, I did it, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Is that an answer? And that only makes the question stronger. Then comes the second eye to the eye. Second eye to the eye, if you listen to the niggin, and the voice goes up and deep. I did it, I did it, I did it, I did it, I. 1, 2, 3, I do love my job. You know why? Because then you're talking to the neshama. When your soul speaks, there's no questions. That's what a niggin is. I told earlier I was going to teach a niggin, explain what a niggin. But kitzer, a niggin, a Chabad niggin in particular, isn't just a nice tune with good lyrics and good sound and good beats. A Chabad niggin is neshama, the soul. The greatest composers were, the hour nigunim that were composed by Chassidim in Russia and Ukraine. These were Yidden who were davening to Hashem. They poured their heart out in tefillah. It wasn't just, they decided at the Sanat Toikef, you have to kvetch like this. And when it comes to say Ataresa, you have to kvetch like that. That's not the way it works. That's someone who's trained in music and can sing great. The whole idea of a Chabad niggin is the neshama feels a certain way. Famous story, I said it over today, but the kids would have believed it's Chabad. Right? I believe this fellow hears that his friend is in big trouble. He owns a tavern by a poyer, a non-Jewish landowner. And he says to him, you owe me rent already 6 months. You don't bring the rent by now, and happens to be before Yom Kippur, you're going to the Hungry Dogs. Goodbye. They'll make nice chont out of you. You'll be finished. This Yid who hears this says, I have to save my friend. When is there a better day to raise some money? Out of Yom Kippur. He goes out, like we have in Brooklyn on Ocean Parkway. A lot of Russian, Ukrainian Yidden, Nebuch, who are Yiddishisten, they know very little, and they're playing cards, poker, whatever they're playing over there, dominoes. But they're all sitting. They're all sitting there. So he says, I'm going to go ahead of Yom Kippur and collect money for my friend to pay the rent. He goes there, and they see a Yidl with a beard and payas and, all that, yarmulke. And they say, what do you want? I want some money to help a Yid. He says, you want money? No problem. You see this glass? This is wine. We're going to fill you up with vodka from here to there. And you'll make a bracha, because you make a bracha. And if you drink that up, we'll give you a few dollars. He drinks a cup of vodka. They give him the money. He's still short. He goes further down. He sees another group of Chaber playing. He says, I need some more money for tzedakah to help this year. They said, oh, we saw it. You drank. Oh, yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're going to give you more money, but you got to drink another cup. He drinks another cup, and then he drinks the third cup, and now he doesn't know where he is, but he has the money. He tells someone or someone else who he knew, he says, here, give the money to this person so he should pay his rent. But it's Yom Kippur tonight. Wait a minute. He doesn't know where he is. So he says, where should I take you? Take me to shul. Take me to shul. You're drunk. You're intoxicated. You're nonsense. Put me on a bench in the back. And let me sleep over there. At least I'll be in shul while Kol Nidre is being said. Kachava, that's what they do. They put him in, you know, everyone has a talis. It's a Yitzchak shul, Batichev, it's Kol Nidre. It's an awesome time. Everyone is crying and tears, and it's really Yom Kippur, you know. He wakes up from his shikras, half sleeping over there. He wakes up and he sees everyone standing with the talis up. So he says, Kum Atoreisa. Right, that's what we say, man. Kum, get up for Atoreisa. In his mind, he saw everyone standing for Atoreisa. They wanted to eat him up and throw him out and break his bones. Aris Fundo, you drunk, you shikad. Rabbi Yitzchak take off his talis. He says, don't touch him. He just annulled a decree that I couldn't annul. We delayed Kol Nidre because I saw a decree in our community in Berdichev, and I was davening to Eberstein and it didn't go. It didn't go. When the Eberstein heard Rabbi Yitzchak saying that this Yid's a Kumata Reisa, he said, Ois, annulled the decree. Because he jumped from Rosh Hashanah out of Yom Kippur, he jumped all the way to Simchos. What's the point? You have to be in Shul Kol Nidre, right? It's called Yom Kippur. But when you connect with your heart, with your neshama to the Eibishter, you can go directly from Rosh Hashanah to Simchos Torah. Now again, I'm not advocating don't come to Shul Simchos Torah. That's not the point. The point is, where are you? Where? And that's what a Chabad Niggin is. A Chabad Niggin, a Dveikis Niggin, a slow Niggin, puts a person into a different frame of mind. And for that, you don't need recipes, and you don't need others. You could be walking by yourself, or you could be in your own room, and you close your eyes, or you open your eyes, and you sing to yourself, or you go into, whatever, trance, no trance, whatever. I'm not talking about, metaphysical, ideas. I was there, and I had a life body, I had a body experience. I'm not getting into all that. That's also true, and there's also times for that, but we're not getting into that now. This is the starkheit, the potency of a Lubavitcher Niggin. This Niggin, my father heard his friends singing Thursday night in 1958. So my father asked them, what do you guys know about a job? You're kvetch, the Yiddish expression, the kvetch da bank. That means you're bench pressing. I don't mean weighing lifts. Yeah. Talking about you're sitting, you're steiging, you're learning. Very good. You're in the yeshiva. He went to work to make a living. He schwitzed. I remember when I was a child, he worked in the factories, in knitting factories, and in Bergen Street and other places with rats and mice. Don't ask. Double shifts at night to make a few dollars for his family, so they should have a parnos. So he should have a parnos, so he should be able to pay tuition as much as he can and bring home food, v'chulu, etc. Right? Here, there is no, you have to press a button now and do this now and decide this now. It doesn't work that way. All of that is very conditional. You see, there is a Judaism, a Torah, that's a conditional Torah. I'll tell you a story with Rabbi Soloveitchik, actually. We said we're going to tell a few stories. It's in the Sfarim, in the books, but just brings to mind. In Chaslavich, Reb Moshe's father was the Rav of the city, right? Reb Moshe was a son of Reb Chaim. Reb Moshe Soloveitchik was a guy in his own right. Who was the Baal Tokeya in the Chaslavich shul, which was basically a Chabad shul? It was a Lubavitcher. Lubavitcher Chassid. Comes up, he's about to blow the shofar. He can't even put the shofar into his mouth because he's crying and he's in tears. Pachad, the awe for Hashem, totally shattered. The Rav says this, I'm repeating what he says. Moshe Soloveitchik says to him, stop! Because halachically, it's not a time to cry. And he brought a raya from lulav. You go, he says, when you take a lulav and esrog and you make the bracha here, the sukkah, right? You also cry. He said, no. He said, well, halachically, the brisker, the gedder of the mitzvah, the essence of the mitzvah is you're not allowed to cry. That's the way the brisker teaches it. So he told them about the Kea. You could tell the Baal Kea whatever you want. This man is not putting on a show. No one told him cry now. He's about to blow, and you realize it's Rosh Hashanah and the Achrayis is the responsibility. It's a veinzich, we say in Yiddish. The tears come automatically. It's not a game here. He's not conditioned. There is a Yiddishkeit, a halachic Yiddishkeit, that's a conditioned Yiddishkeit. There's not, and both are fine. But if you want to understand more, what is this Titus Baal Shem Tov, especially the way Chabad understands Titus Baal Shem Tov, it's a heart expression. And Chabad, like I said before, is the closest thing, right? With the Reb Chaim and the Litvish, the Chaim Volozhin and everything else. The Goin was yesterday, right? Yutes, right? Sorry. Yeah, yesterday Yutes, right? So
Nachman was Yidches.
What?
Rabbi Nachman was Yidches.
That's right. Nachman was Yidches. So Chochmah Bina Das. Chochmah Bina Das, wisdom, understanding, intellect, and all that. But if you think that a real Chabadnik, a real Lubavitcher Chassid is, so for my own father-in-law, who was I think a friend of your father's, they were very deep people, but they were very heartfelt people. They were very heartfelt people. Mamish, they had a broad heart. It's called Bruderschaft. The Bruderschaft, which means brotherliness. It's not about I told you a word, you told me a word, and it's a gewaltige word, and we're falpul. That's all true. As it darf sein. It's about brotherliness. What does it say in Hayoim Yoim? Mein Stickel Breut is deiner wie meiner. Und man sagt, deine far meiner. My piece of bread is yours like mine, and we say first yours, then it's mine. It's a whole different experience. Yiddishkeit, Torah needs to be experienced. We talk about what are we going to do today? The kids, this with leaving and all the issue with the... I firmly believe that if we saw today more of this experiential Yiddishkeit, where it's in the bones, it's not just in the cup, it's not just in your head, how much you know, but it's in your bones. And when you hear something about a Yid, you can't rest until you help the Yid. Then you see a living organism of Judaism, of Torah. The story with the Rav, also the story with the milk, right? Someone didn't have money. He gives him money for the Arba Koises. So his wife says, Rav's wife says, he gave him a lot of money. How much does it cost a few bottles of wine? Whatever. He gave him a big. He says, believe me, if he's asking that he doesn't have money for wine, He doesn't have money for matzah. He doesn't have money for fish. He doesn't have money for meat. Hat nicht. He doesn't have. The Verleih verstehen. You got to understand yourself. And that idea of the brotherliness, that what we feel each other as brothers and sisters, as chaverim, that was a central theme in Chabad theology. It's not spoken about a lot, but I'm telling you from the inside. That made the chassid. That made the chassid. And it made it, by the way, not only when he was a nitzrach, when he was broken and shattered and needed, but even when he wasn't. I'll give you another example. So the Sefer Mendel Futterfass that I told you about, her great uncle, right? He's at a Farbrengen in Samarkand, 1940s, 43, 44. There was another Yid named Reb Asher Batumer. You probably knew him before. Reb Asher, Asher Batumer. Asher Sasonkin, they called him. Sasonkin, yeah. Asher did very well in the black market in Russia. He made good money. Asher. So, come to Farbrengen. That Mendel was in charge, one of the people, to raise money for the yeshivas, for the underground yeshivas. And Mendel knew that Usher does very well. My shver told me this. My father told me this story. He was there, this is firsthand. So he says to him, Usher, the yeshiva needs money. Give money for the yeshiva. So he takes out and he gives some money. And Mendel says to him, Usher, if you don't put down, he said in Yiddish, I'm saying English, if you don't put down all of the money, I'm going to wipe the floors with you. In front of everybody. In front of everybody. And he was best friends with Usher. He was best friends with Usher. They used to learn L'Kutei Torah in 770 upstairs. They were best friends. He wasn't speaking at him. He was speaking with him. He was being Megala. He was revealing within Usher to overcome his inability to give it all away. That's a chassid. A chassid is not someone that always goes, "Oh, Eli, you're the best. You're great." Actually, I had a guy who used to say to me, "Rabbi Dalfin, you're the best. You're the best." I don't need to hear I'm the best. When we were in yeshiva, our mashpira, Melech Tzvibel, used to say, and I went over to him once, I said this, that. He said, to find someone in the yeshiva who can give you good musar, but really means it. One guy. The guys are in the yeshiva. One friend, if they really mean it, they're not talking at you, they're talking with you. So this idea of brotherliness doesn't mean just in the kav of chesed. There can be sometimes the kav of gvura. You need someone to knock some sense into you. It's all right. It's all right. You know, what do they say? If it's hot in the kitchen, get out, right? But you want to be in the kitchen? Then you better stay there and be ready. So, and the Rav was that way too. Rabbi Soloveitchik was that way too. He was very tough. Very, very tough. His son, Chaim Zalzang, after the Rav lost 3 people, his wife, his brother, and his mother in 1967, all within a few months of each other. Devastated. So the year or 2 after, his son, Chaim, listened to Shaar, and he says, it's not my father. My father, until there was a raging bull in the classroom. You try to fake it, he would say the Gemara. So he had like 3, I was told by someone who saw he had 3. He would give someone who said it and admitted he didn't know it. He wrote down, didn't know, but he said the truth. Someone who said it and knew it very well. And someone who said it and said he knew it and he didn't know it and he didn't prepare well, he wrote down liar. Very sharp. There's no. You think he didn't love him? He still loved him. But the point was that, who are you kidding? What did you prepare? I told you to prepare the Gemara, and you know I'm going to call on you, because he can call on anybody in the classroom. All that tamed after he lost his 3 close, his wife, his mother, and his brother, Shmuel. He he said he wasn't the same, you know. But in his good days, he was fire. Fire! I would say it was much more fire than Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe was also fire. People think that Lubavitcher Rebbe always went like this to you. It's not true. When you needed to sometimes get a good zetz, you got the zetz. If you can't handle the zetz, you can't be in the kitchen. You got to be able to handle the zetz. But a good mechanech, good educator knows when to zetz, when not to zetz, how to zetz, which words to use. You know what I'm saying? Who do you criticize? Who do you argue with? Someone you love. Someone you care for. Someone you don't care for, go do it any way you want. Who cares about you? Someone you really care about, you dialogue, you argue, you criticize. Hopefully it's constructive criticism, not the empty criticism. But you care about them. It bothers you. So when you learn Chassidus, and there's no shortcuts to learning Chassidus. Yitzchak told you, Eli told you, you got to learn. If you're interested in this mahalach, you have to simply take out the books and learn. No drasha, and no sermon, and no farbrengen, and no teacher. Yeah, there's a lot of good things, and it's great. But you have to, if you want to know shtickle Gemara, you got to learn the Gemara and Tesis Rashi and the Maram Shif and everything else. Otherwise, okay. They tell a story, story of, not of Shmelk, of Nikolsburg, another big tzaddik. I remind myself, I forget now. Reb Yoel used to always tell it over. Go out with the story. Listen to this story. A chassid of the Balatanya became enamored with another tzaddik. Now, the Lubavitcher Chassidim, there was no such a thing as we're jumping and playing Rebbes. We're going to this Rebbe one day and this Rebbe another day, and that's a good spectator sport. Everyone's holy and everyone is good, but you're neshama, something talks to you, right? So in Chabad, unfortunately, you hear it sometimes from people or younger people, and they're derogatory. But the truth is, it's wrong. But in Shita, there's a Shita here. I'm not going to go into it because the world today is not a vessel. But you know what? They make a joke. They say there's the Jew, the Breslev, Lubavitcher, Karlbachnik, right? They have an acronym for it. Yeah. Chabakuk. Look, everything's good. Everything's good. Chabad's good. And Karlbach. But a person, your neshama gets on fire from. If you're really going deep into your soul, it's one thing talks to you. So for a Chabadnik chassid to all of a sudden go to and not just visit and respect, but identify with another Rebbe, it was problematic for them. One of these Hasidim, of the Alter Rebbe, the Balatanya, decided to go to another tzaddik. If I forget now the name, and he comes back and he says to his Chaverim in Lubavitch, whatever, in Yozhna, wherever it was, and he says, Sebrenta fire. The man's on fire. The neshama. This person's neshama is mamish. This tzaddik is really fiery. And he starts kind of intimating he wants to kind of go over, So his friends Chassidim said to him, I wish I remember his name. He says, they say to him, Chaikel of Ludmir, the Rebbe, the great Reb Chaikel from Ludmir. So he says, so brent a fire by Reb Chaikel. So the Alter Rebbe said, Nish Chaikel brennt. The Rebbe brennt in Chaikel. Chaikel himself is not on fire. It's the Rebbe within Chaikel that's on fire. That's not Chabad. you have to be on fire. A Rebbe is a pointer. He gives you a mahalach. He gives you a hadracha. But at the end of the day, you have to do it. And if you don't do it, then you could be the biggest seemingly chassid. And it ain't you, it's him. Chaikel is on fire within you. You are asleep. So this Lubavitch, this is it's a heavy mahalach. But when you learn Chassidus, and you sit in Fabrein, and you talk it out with Chavedim and Mashpiyim and whatever, you will get there. You will get there. So therefore, you can't say, how will I look in 10 years from now if how will I look in 10 years? How did I look 10 years before? If only I kept, that standard and not allow the Gashmis to schlep me down. Everyone has to go through their own, there's an English word, catharsis. Cathartic experience, a paradigm shift. Everyone has to go through their own inner turmoil to bring out the best. And you say l'chaim, and you sing Chassidus and Niggin, and you sit with others, and you learn Chassidus. That's why, Eli, the Chassidus learning is gewaldig. But the Chassidus learning has to express itself in a poel mamish. And it's not for me to tell you the poel mamish. You and each one of us here has to, on our own, just come to a point. What's my poel mamish? Yitzchak wanted to have a Rabbeinu Tam film. That was his poel mamish at that time. Yeah, and I'm not saying that some people begin with the poel mamish, the Rabbeinu Tam film, the Lubavitch Talis. Other people begin with the learning Chassidus. There's different things. And again, does one have to, as we said in the beginning, Fabinga, does one have to, I don't want to be a Lubavitcher, no problem. There was a chassid, some of you might have heard of him, Rabbi Avram Mayor, Avram Drizzen. Rabbi Fall, I'm sure knew him. I think it was a contemporary of his father's. So he once came to Lakewood, because he was a relative to the former Rosh Hashiva of Aaron Cutler's son-in-law, his name was, I don't remember the name. They divorced, I don't remember the name. Anyway, so he was related. So they had a respect for him. He was also a goy. He spoke to the Rabbon of Ben. He spoke to the Rogachover, Kent al-Sachlen, Nigler, Tzos, Nesivas, Alazach. And he was a chassid. He came to Lubavitch. So he, what's it called? He came to Lakewood. It was Takasukas. A few hundred people in the sukkah in Lakewood. And he's looking around and he says to everyone, you all think I came here to Lakewood to make you Lubavitcher. Well, you have it all wrong. You know why? We got enough Lubavitchers in 770. We don't need more. We have our own. And I'll add to that, we have our own problems. But he said, if you want to see a Yid who means what he says, come visit the Lubavitcher Rebbe. If you want to see a Jew who means what he says in his Yiddishkeit and his Yiddish Shemayim, then I urge you to come take a visit to 770 and meet the Lubavitcher Rebbe. But we're not looking for more Lubavitchers. So everyone says, yeah, you guys are looking to proselytize and they're making enough. No. We're looking for emes. Emes. There's a famous Yiddish lied that goes, V'nemt men a bissele emes. Where do you get a little truth? V'nemt men a bissele emes. The Rav and the Rebbe shared commonality. They were both emes. I'm telling you. And I didn't go to YU, and I'm not his Talmud. I wish I would have heard a shir from him, but I didn't have the seichel to go to hear a shir of his. But in researching him and studying him and interviewing people who knew him, he was Ish Emes. The Rebbe was an Ish Emes. You know how many people, stories upon stories, the Rachlin brothers, very wealthy, and they're from Toronto. So when there was a certain chilukei deis between Lubavitch and others, he sided with the others, other gedolim, whatever. I don't know what the pratim. And the Rebbe heard about it. The Rebbe said, he wanted to give $14 million for every Jew who wanted to give $1. He wanted to give a dollar. The Rebbe gave out dollars. So one of the Reichman wanted to give the Rebbe $14 million for each Jew in the world. The Rebbe said he's not interested because he was very upset with him at the time. At that time, doesn't mean later it wasn't a change. There was. What's my nekuda? What's my point? My point is that emes, truth, emes is something that is very, very difficult. The Kotzker, the famous Kotzker of Kotsk, right? The Nachman of Kotsk. They said to him, "Why are you such an extremist?" You know, the Kotzker was a big extremist. So he said, the Rambam says, the Derech HaMitzua, the middle path. What? Hilchos Deis, exactly. So you know the Kotzker said, when you're on a road, in those days, no paved road and cars, who walks in the middle of the road? A horse. So you want to be in middle of the way, you'll be a horse. So Kotzker went with an extreme for emes. But b'chalal, the idea of emes, it's not an easy job. Especially the world we live in, everything is tainted, everything has a spin, everything's in the spin, you know? When you learn Chassidus, I can tell you one thing, Chassidus doesn't let you fool yourself. If you really learn Chassidus, boy, do you know who you are. And you'll be emes, it'll be more modest, and you'll have a better relationship and better success. It's Allah. So Rabbi say everyone should learn Chassidus. And I don't know what my wife is, I don't see her here. But my wife, wherever she, Abashi, where did she get lost? Whatever. I wanted her to learn with you, Gila, and maybe Goldie. She learned Shaar haBitochen. Very important to learn today Shaar haBitochen. My wife has two friends. They learn on the phone 10 minutes a day. And it's mamish brought to them. I'm telling you. I hear all day about Shaar haBitochen. The Emunah. I heard it from my sister. So my wife got her sister that started in L.A. She's learning with two friends. Start learning women with women. The Shaar haBitochen. They have today in English, the art scroll, the Feldheim, the Chabad. They all have good svarim. Every day, a few minutes Shaar haBitochen together. First of all, you build chavrusas, you build friendships, and you're also creating this idea of friendship through bitochen. We need bitochen today, a lot of bitochen. We need bitochen for our children. We need bitochen for our parnosa. We need bitochen for everything. If someone thinks they have it made, let them think again. Look how people fall. I don't have to mention names. Billionaires, people, garnished. Overnight, nothing. Bitchu Bashem. Only bitochen the Eibishter. You have bitochen. You need bitochen. And the Rebbe, you should know, encouraged a lot of people in the letters to learn Shaar haBitochen. Not the whole Chayvus Halavavos, man. That too, if you have to, but Shaar haBitochen in particular. So especially women have to. This is a good thing for women to learn Shaar haBitochen, and then the women bring in the bitochen into the husbands, and they bring bitochen to the kids, and it becomes a whole bitochen energy in the house. And when you have bitochen, you can do anything, right? Because the fact that it doesn't seem this way, and there's questions and all this. L'chaim, David should help that we should have Mashiach now. We should have a gewaldige rest of Sukkot, and then Simchos Torah. So after the next niggin, I'm going to tell you about Simchos Torah, one word, and then I think we'll conclude. L'chaim. Yeah. Reb David, Shalom Aleichem, how are you? Haven't spoken to you in ages. So, coming to Teaneck here, I reminded myself that I was here probably about 15, 20 years ago. I think once for a Shabbaton with Simon made at the Chabad house. Then I also, when I was researching the impact of communities on Chabad Shluchim, Rabbi Mordechai Weiss is still here, and he was a friend of mine from Yeshiva, class older, and I spent time with him. And then I once spoke here about when my book came out on the Rav and the Rebbe in a shul here, Beth Aaron. Yeah, I don't know where that is, but somewhere here. The idea of living all over is part of our story. Yes, I know that I've heard that there's a strong Aliyah movement in this community, like in Boca Raton, also in certain communities. And that's great and wonderful, even though, tell you the truth, the Rav wasn't for it. People can jump up and down, but Rabbi Riskin admitted to it. When he first came to Rabbi Soloveitchik, he told him, "What do you want from me?" "I want your blessing. You ain't getting my blessing." Finally, he said, "Go." And so it's not helping Rav Shleimer, Rav Shleimer Riskin did so much, Mitaki did so much. But for a Russian Jew like the Rebbe and Rabbi Soloveitchik, the Rav, the whole idea, this it's not, the Rebbe also wasn't pushing people to make Aliyah. So it's not that they were, where are they coming from? I want to go into that, I don't want to philosophize now, but they were coming from that where you are, you have to make Eretz Yisrael. Chabad repeats that word from the Tzemach Tzedek. Mach Eretz Yisrael. Someone came to Tzemach Tzedek and he said, "I'm having issues, I'm going to Eretz Yisrael." So Tzemach Tzedek told him, "Make here Mach Eretz Yisrael." You take that Nakuda, it's not just the Lubavitcher ever saying that. It was Nakuda that a Yid needs to make Eretz Yisrael wherever he is. Versteht sich if he can accomplish both things, like someone told me, Ramat Bet Shemesh, I remember, when I say who, I remember who, he has a beautiful villa, and he had a chashtibel in his house, and Alts Gewaldig. And I said to him, what are you doing here? You can have that in New Jersey, you can have it in Lakewood, you can have it in Brooklyn, even in Mill Basin. What do you have to come here to have he says, if I can have the best of both worlds, why not? The Machdo Eretz Yisrael, make here Eretz Yisrael, is a truism wherever you are. And that was the Nakuda by these type of Yidden, the Rebbe Soloveitchik, and such people. I don't see that you were against going to Eretz Yisrael. I mean, there were also issues, other issues, but it was like, where are you escaping to? Where are you escaping to? They were Rabbanim, and it's online. You can hear the videos where they came to the Rebbe. They were Lubavitchers. We wanted a bracha. And the Rebbe said to them, basically, you're going to go to Yerushalayim. It's saturated with rabbis and teachers. If you tell me you're going to a kibbutz, or you're going to Tel Aviv, in the heart of the lion, where my daughter is a shluch over there in Dizengoff Center. You're going there. You got carte blanche. Go. Because you'll make a difference. What are you going to do in Yerushalayim? I'm going to give a shiur, a lecture. Oh, really? That's 500 lectures. And I know. I spent 20 years back and forth. I know the area. There's a koilim. I don't have to tell you. Everyone knows here. You want to make a difference. A person should want to make a difference. Not should want. Should make a difference. Person asks, where should I live? Where should I work? Where you can make a difference. The Rebbe says it's always the people. Where you can make a difference. If you're just going to be another number, you shouldn't be there. Now, I'm not talking about shalom bayis, and I'm talking about working together with your husband and with your wife and all these nakudas, all these points. But what difference can it make? Sometimes people live for their children. The children are not getting a good chinuch here. There's issues. You run away there. You know what we had Ramat Shemesh Friday nights? I don't know if any of you guys know, but the same issues like here. The same hangouts. You know, you're from Ramat Shemesh. You were a young boy. You were a good boy. You know what I mean? Everyone's a good, but I'm saying, you know, over there, everyone hangs out in the park. So what's the difference there or Ocean Parkway in Brooklyn or Flatbush? What's the difference? So the Rebbe and Rebbe Soloveitchik both shared, in my humble opinion, this nakuda that they weren't anti-aliyah the way people take it. They were into do here aliyah, make here aliyah. If it's best for you to go there and you're going like you said before, it's the quality, right? The eifin. No problem. We'll make sure. But I do want to say a word about Simchos Torah, because not only because I'm a flyer, I would be a liar, right? If I wouldn't say a word about Simcha. I'm always fascinated about Simchos Torah. Why am I so fascinated with Simchos Torah? Simchos Torah to me is the day not only culminates all the Yom Tovim, but it really shows what you're made of. The previous Rebbe in a Maimer, Tufshin Beis, you can look it up. You know, the previous Rebbe when he came to America was an ill person, but there was 1 year that he had better health. Within his weak health, 1 year was 1942, 41, 42, Tufshin Beis. And that's why if you take a look, there's a Maimer almost every week. Rabbi Groner, and others who were Bacharim, young Bacharim and others, they remembered the Rebbe would come down, I think, Monday nights, and he would say a Maimer. The Friedeker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak. So one of the Maimorim over there on Simchos Torah, or the Maimer was Torah, I learned it once, caught my attention. He says there, why do we dance with the Torah? Now what's the question? Hey, look at the Shulchan Aruch, why you dancing? He says it's to accustom your body to schwitz for a mitzvah. That thought when I learned that it mamish. Once a year, you want to schwitz, and this is the. In other words, when it gets hot and uncomfortable, you're schwitzing for the mitzvah. The same at Mendel Futterfass. It was once 90 degrees in Kfar Chabad, which is near Tel Aviv. Over there, it's very hot. They have a flat roof on Kfar Chabad, in the yeshiva, in the Lubavitch yeshiva in Kfar Chabad. And the air conditioner broke. 3:30 by us starts the Seder, the second Nigla. Tomorrow. No one's there. None of Bacharim are coming. It's boiling. There's one person there, Reb Mendel Futterfass, with his frock and his casquette, like a little different than yours. The black with the side. The side. That's what he wore. Yeah. That was him and a few other chassidim. And he's there learning something. A bacher comes in, Kuti Feldman, today is a mashpia in the Crown Heights, and he sees his Reb Mendel. maybe if you go out to the porch, and Bochum will hear that you're on the porch, so there's a little more air than sitting inside without air conditioning and a flat roof and the sun baking on us. Maybe then some more Bochum will come in to learn. So he says, what? I should show them that the heat gets me to cancel and change. No. A little heat's not going to disturb the learning. He's a Russian Yid, a Baal Mesiras Nefesh, Taka was. But my own father-in-law, a story that I always tell over just to bring out this Nakuda. He once came, I don't know, some say it was Sukkot another time, I'm not sure when, but he lived in Australia. My wife grew up in Australia. They were the founding families, the Lubavitcher families in Melbourne.
Who's your father?
Sarah Bransky. So he once came. I don't know why, how. It was a 30-hour plane ride. He's stopping in Singapore, in Hawaii, in San Francisco, and then on to New York. Very long. Today it's much shorter. Still long, but still much shorter. You can get a 13-hour flight direct, but in those days you couldn't do that. For some reason he didn't have food. I heard it was Sukkot. He came into 770. It wasn't like the day you go now to 770 now. The party is just starting. Are you kidding? 11 o'clock? They're just getting warmed up. They're setting up now. But in those days, in 1970s, the streets, everyone was either in a sukkah like we are, for bringing and talking, or at home sleeping. One here, one there. It wasn't. 770 was dark. 770 was dark. And my shver comes into 770. He arrives. It was one Lubavitcher 770 at that night, at that time. It was 2 in the morning, I think 1, 2 in the morning. His name was Reb Naftali Estulin. He was the shliach for Russian Jews in Los Angeles, Mitzvah Chabad on Fairfax Avenue. And he's a Russian too. He was a Russian. So my shver says to him, Naftali, do you have something to eat? He says, I haven't eaten in 30 hours. Starving. So he goes and he says, he finds him bread, but not fresh bread, old stale bread. And he gives it to him and says, thank you. Upstairs in 770, at the end of the hall, right before what they call the Yichud room, and you have weddings over there, there's a little sink. So he goes out to wash his hands. He starts walking to the sink and he turns back to Naftali. And he says to Naftali, Efshe hosta zaltz. Maybe you have some salt. He looks at my father-in-law and says, what? It's 2 in the morning. There's no one around. There's no food. I barely had some stale bread. And you want salt so you can dip your bread with salt? He says, yeah. He says, I don't have. He just gives him back. That's Yiddish Shemayim. That's Yiddish Shemayim. I'm a little uncomfortable. It's hot. I'm talking to myself because I get hot. And I need air conditioning. My wife will tell you. I don't have the air conditioning. I go nuts. What are you going nuts for? Because you're spoiled. You're a spoiled American. You know what they used to call us Americans? She grew up with the Russian Chassidim. Chocolatiness. Chocolateness. A little chocolate. A lick of chocolate. Now, Baruch Hashem. We live in a free society, free country. Hashem gives and she gives more, no question about it. But come on. It gets a little uncomfortable. Simchos Torah, when you dance, and even if you can't dance for whatever reason, you clap and you move. There are people I saw in 770, they go like this the whole time. You can't dance, whatever reason. You're moving. You're smiling. You're singing. You exert your physical body, Simchas Torah, for the Simcha of the Torah. The Rebbe says, the Frierdiker Rebbe says, that's the reason we dance with it. That's one of the reasons that Chazal instituted us dancing with the Torah is to schwitz for a mitzvah. You want to accustom your body to schwitz for a mitzvah. And now it's no surprise that the Rebbe Rashab says that whoever dances the 48 hours, she mean it said it's a Torah or not, one day, he says it. And if the Rebbe Rashab was a big tzaddik, says it, I believe him. And I know it's true. That if you dance with kavana, in starkheit, in your dances, he'll give you a skula, whatever word you want to use. We're not into skulas, Chabad's not into skulas, but he says parnosa. All brachas, parnosa in particular. So someone's struggling with parnosa, the Rashab says, just dance away, Simchas Torah. As I take this up. If it's good for the Rebbe Rashab, it's good for me. But I'm giving you the idea, I'm supporting the Rashab's idea, because when you can schwitz for a mitzvah, you deserve parnosa. Because it's not easy to schwitz for a mitzvah. We all want comfort. And we should have comfort. And more comfort. I remember a Fabrengen, I brought her grandfather and his brother-in-law, a Mendel Futterfass, to Hadar Torah in Crown Heights. And with my friends, and we made a Fabrengen. They were both in town. And I asked him a question. Who do you consider bigger Chassidim? The Rebbe's Chassidim, today's Lubavitcher Chassidim, I'm talking about now 1981, 80, or the Alter Rebbe's Chassidim? Who's greater? So you ask, a real serious guy would tell you the Alter Rebbe's Chassidim. Oh! Her grandfather said the Rebbe's Chassidim. But Mendel said actually the Alter Rebbe's Chassidim. And her grandfather said, and her grandfather was much more, thoughtful and intellectual and calm. Was very, mechanech, an educator. Reb Mendel was more of a fiery, chassid, talkative, imposing. He was a real demanding chassid. Her grandfather was a different style. And he said, I remember, he said, the Rebbe's Chassidim. Why the Rebbe's Chassidim? Because to live through everything we live through today, with all the challenges, all the nisyonis, and all the difficulties, and to be a yid, and to be a chassid, and to be committed, it's gavaldik. The Alter Rebbe's Chassidim, when they have a horse and buggy, and a little straw to sleep on. We have all the taivas. What did the Hilliger of Berdichev said? Eibishter, if you would put the taivas in a little sefer like the Tanya, and you would put the Eibishter in front of us, we would all be good. Instead, you put the Eibishter in a little book called the Tanya, a little sefer, and you put the taivas in front of us, and you have complaints. So the nisyonis are very real. The challenges are real. When you learn Chassidus, and you fabreng, and you live together, and you learn together, and you talk together, and you feel liberated. You really feel liberated. And this explains many, many things. Sometimes people see some Lubavitcher Chassidim, they're a little like wild, and it's coming from a different place. You have to understand what's coming from. It's coming from a different place. You know what I'm saying? So yes, outwardly it might look a little wild, but if you know the mucker, the source, it's a whole different thing. Like I said before, the Rebbe salvation and the Rebbe with Aliyah. If you understand where they were coming from, it's not that they're anti-Aliyah. What he wanted of Rav Riskin was, hey, Riskin, make a frat place in Manhattan or in New Jersey. I don't know what I'm saying. So the Rebbe should help. We're coming to the end of the Fabrengen. The Rebbe should help that everyone should take this Simchos Torah, particularly to dance to smile, to clap, whatever. You know. I was once, my family, we were Simchos Torah in Yerushalayim. I don't want to say which yeshiva. I went into a real yeshiva with some heavy Rosh Yeshivas and everything. It was Simchos Torah, but they were dancing like, I don't know. It's hard for me to see dancing as I like falling half asleep. Simchos Torah! Even without mashke, even without wine, your body should be moving. How could you know? It's Simchos Torah. It's the best day. It's one day. So Chevra, remember, this year, you know, I say always, when Yom Tov comes out of Shabbos, it's like 1, 2, 3. Because Shabbos, we have Shabbos every week, right? So we have Shabbos every week. No, look, Chagim are over. Okay, next week, back to work. My father always says, what's a Shabbos? He's running to end Shabbos. Why? He's running to jump into Gehenna. The Gehenna opens up. What's a Shabbos? Where are you running to? Name! The minute the clock ends, either I need my cigarette, for those that are still smoking, or I need to go on my internet, or whatever else. Where are you running? To Gehenna. Gehenna opens now. Maybe if you delayed a little bit. I'm not talking about keeping it up in a Thomas, man. Whoever keeps it, Gavaldi. Just talking about the concept. Gotta slow down. I was Basha, you were out. I was telling the women and the men too that the Shaar haBitochen teaches you how to have bitochen and to slow down. Gotta go like on a basketball court, right? Time out. Relax. There's nowhere to run. It will wait for you. The same few dollars. If your neighbor still wants you to make it, you're going to make it. If he doesn't want you to make it, you ain't making it. You can jump upside down and backwards and forwards. The Ab's help that Yasher Koyach, first of all, to Rafal and your wife, and Eli and your wife, and to everyone else that, you know, participated. The Chassidische Fabringen in Simchos Beis Asher Evo. Shin Pei Dalid. What's the acronym? I don't know. By me, always get comment to Hey Shnas Pidyon. You let it be the year of redemption. Pidyon. Pedus. Pidyon. Whatever. Anyone can make their own. You know, this is the. They can touch and everyone can make it whatever they want. It doesn't say it anyway. This kid. But Madav Zechnemet to the Beiner. You know, we got to get a hold of ourselves and really get moving. And those that are able, I encourage you to learn. You know, I give some shiurim online. You can't join live. Listen, just saying. Learn Chassidus. Again, Eli started to learn Reb Yoel's shiurim, which is gavaldik. You know, he has a head for it, and he does it as gavaldik. But there's a lot of shiurim and good shiurim, tifa shiurim online. So l'chaim, everyone should please make a bracha achreina. Don't forget, and everyone should have taka k'machsim a tova, a good kvittel. Hashanah Rabbah's coming. Nechtomim alter l'chaim u'l'tshuva, and we should only have Yiddish Nachas, but Nosa Barachov, a good gesundheit health. Shidduchim tovim. They send shidduchim to every one of us, for our children, ourselves, grandchildren, in the Gringeneufen. And we should take a bizoicha to the Gula Shleima. It's not just some kind of Baba Maisa. Mashiach will come, and he is coming, and we have to participate in his coming. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Make a bracha achreina.
Yeah. Someone should make a bracha achreina out loud.
I have to listen to your latest series, Shaar, right?
Yeah.
You don't want it?
Let's see what
Go ahead.
we have.